Hi, I'm Joe, and today I've got the Lumibricks Haunted House. This is a brand new set from Lumibricks that I bought on Amazon, and even though I believe it retails for $140, I was able to get it for under $80 because there were what they called blemishes in the instructions. And if you saw the picture I posted a little bit ago, you'll notice that there were tremendous blemishes in the box. The instructions were not necessarily damaged, but what they meant by blemishes is that there were actually quite a few misprints in the instructions, like it was an early draft. Now, I decided to take my chances on that because they also offer digital instructions, which I had heard based on Jang's channel that had been corrected, and found that to be true, and found most of the instruction errors were showing pieces in the wrong color. In this case, the instructions that were printed shows one color while the digital instructions show the correct color. And there were other steps down the line where it's like it told you needed to use a certain piece and then you didn't use that piece until like a few steps later, or a certain piece just appeared. These are actually common errors that people find in Lego brand instructions too, so it's not that big of a deal. Still, I've got a modular size building, a modular style building because the levels do come off, and there's other ways to see inside, and a fully functional light kit, and even this little side build of this little weird vehicle. And less than $80, I don't think that is something to be ignored. There's also building alternatives, extra pieces so that you can decorate how you want. And I think this is a pretty good build for Halloween. It's definitely not the aesthetic of the Danish brand that we're used to, but I think it still fits. And because of the modular nature of it, it looks great on display. So let's get a closer look at the overall model starting from the outside. So just looking at the front, we have all the hallmarks of a traditional Lego built spooky house. You can kind of see my book nook hiding there in the background. But you've got the tall steeple, the steep roof, all the boarded up windows and unkempt parts of the walls. In fact, there's lots of brick built detail here to show you that the walls are not in the best of shape by using snot bricks and slope bricks to intentionally leave holes in the walls. But that doesn't affect the structural integrity of the overall build. Lights are part of all Lumibricks kits, and you can see some shining on the inside, you can see some on the outside. In this case, we've got two porch lights. This one is intentionally left so it's not on. There's no bulb in there, but this one is on, and it actually gives you several other colors like a dark green or a red that you could put in place there depending on whatever color you want. And over here we've got another sort of outside light, and it pulsates, and it's got this unicorn horn piece on top. And I should mention that Lumibricks uses Go Bricks, and apparently Go Bricks makes this unicorn piece out of the same types of plastic as all the regular bricks. If you're familiar with Lego unicorn horn pieces, they're more rubbery, and that's kind of the case with a lot of the other pieces. If you're used to something being a little bit soft and flexible from the Lego brand, the Go Bricks brand tends to use the harder plastic. Moving down to a little bit closer look at the lower level, you can actually see there's even a basement level. There's nothing in there, but the whole build is raised a couple of bricks, so you can see the green light there in the basement. The windows show some signs of cracking. Those are all printed. There are no stickers in this set. There are a ton of prints. Here on the front porch, you can see some more of the prints, just showing the wear on the concrete or whatever the porch is made out of, as well as using these angled pieces, including some of these angled pieces that are just tiles instead of plates. They don't have studs on them, and that's, I think, unique to Go Bricks. We've got a gravestone here. It looks like for a dog. And we have various trees all around, all with various shades of purple leaves. That was a choice I made. The set actually comes with your choice of either using the two shades of purple for the leaves or yellow and orange. Yellow and orange looks more realistic, but there's so much in this house that's not realistic that I went ahead and just thought I'll commit to it and put the purple leaves out there. We've got a ghost of some sort here coming out of the chimney, or at least the side of the chimney, and that's a rather interesting build. There's another piece that is in tile form, in this case a printed tile, that we don't usually see from the Danish brand. Down here is one of the 3 minifigures that comes with the set, and the reason I'm not highlighting them separately is because the build actually tells you to place 2 of the 3 minifigures in a specific place. This is the only one that you're not told where to put. This is one of the 2 ghost hunters that are part of this kit. Looking around the left side of the house, again, we have another view of the kind of crawl space there. We have some logs on the side for, I guess, the fireplace, and just some more plants growing on the side, and same for one level up. And we've got this spiderweb piece, which looks like something that might have been an accessory to a Spider-Man figure at some time. The dormer windows up here, I should point out, they're not true dormers because they actually don't come flush with the roof. There's a big gap there. And I also should point out that that's not white, nor is it gray. It's that in-between white and gray color that GoBricks uses. So it is a little bit weird because it makes you think, what's wrong with these white pieces? Well, they're not white. They're intentionally this very, very light gray. Some detailing I didn't show in the front is we've got a bat piece, which I think is the same piece used as a batarang for Batman. And we have a bat here in that very, very light gray, and some crowbars to put decorations over the front porch. Here on the other side, we've got more plants and trees and stuff growing out the side, and spider webs, and a spider. This is another example of a piece that's made out of hard plastic instead of something more flexible. So I imagine if you rough up those spider legs too much, they would be rather easy to break off. Of course, I haven't tried to do that. And a rather significant hole here in the wall with some bars sticking out. And it's interesting that that's all there is. It's just a hole with bars, because there are other places in the build that have those bars incorporated as part of the hole, but you're actually supposed to clip other things to those bars. I found it odd that this part didn't have you clip anything to them. Down here is where you go upstairs to a side entrance to the building, and the door opens up to where you can see the upper level, and you can see a teddy bear, but this is nothing like a cozy bedroom, as we'll see in a minute. Checking out the back here, there actually is some detail with some open windows here, but there's not a whole lot. You do have at least some changes of color here with the olive green masonry bricks, and you have these pieces here that actually work as handles so that you can see inside. This is one of the 2 ways to see inside the build. This one on the second floor actually uses a Technic pin and a 1x1 Technic brick to serve as a stud to keep that closed. And here we have access to the entire inside of the model. We also have access to the attic through this panel, which just sits on by gravity. Focusing first on the attic, which is not very spacious, but it looks like we definitely have some type of ritual taking place here with various gems and orbs. And it looks like we've got a book that's again printed. Of course, on the inside, it has a special message that says, "Don't open." Somebody would think you should have printed that on the front. On the inside, we've got a pumpkin with a candle piece that's tied to one of the lights. And this is another piece where you have the option to use a different color, where you can use either a typical orange flame piece, or in this case, a green one, which I thought would be more eerie. And part of this ritual appears to be summoning whatever this skeletal being is. And now to see if I can do what I always find challenging with these modular style Lumibricks builds. I'm going to try and take the roof off the way it was intended. And actually that went pretty well. You can also see this time that I did not pull off the contact piece that keeps the lights on, which has been a problem with other Lumibricks sets, where the contact piece from the lower level ends up stuck on the upper level and you have to spend a lot of time taking the 2 apart. So this gives us a good look inside the upper level, and I'm going to give us a better look by just going ahead and opening the back panel. And here on one side, we've got a bedroom that looks like it's rather messy. Quite a bit of brick-built design went into this bed to make it look like the sheets are hanging off the bed. There's a teddy bear and rather interesting frame technique using telephone and bat pieces in pearl gold. We've got some green fire going on. Nice builds here for curtains by the window. A fairly unique piece for a lampshade. Roller skate on the floor because kids are always leaving their toys everywhere. A printed portrait over the bed. And we have a brick-built crib. Here on the other side, which features this nice little panel that allows us to open and see in there better, we have a bathroom with a toilet where definitely nothing good has gone on there, with a plunger next to it, an old-style bathtub, a sink made out of a shell piece, and a printed towel. And we also see that here is how you get to the lower level of the building, is through this ladder. This also shows, when we close the panel up, that this is also the ladder. There we go. That leads to the attic. Although now that I think about it, with this panel closed like this, the only way to the attic would be from the first floor, climbing the ladder all the way up to the top. And the only way into the second floor is actually through these stairs on the side. And now for the next challenge, is can I remove the second floor? I have to first figure out actually where is the end of the second floor. Guessing it's right here where it splits.
One eternity later.
Here we go. And we can now see into the main floor. Here on the main floor, you can see definitely some bad stuff has gone on here. And here we see we actually have a mechanical feature, which is part of the reason we have a crawl space, is so the Technic mechanism can go under there. And these boards kind of look wobbly, and that's because they are. If I turn this knob, then they start wobbling. The instructions have you put this figure here on the boards, mostly to demonstrate that they will shake around when you turn the knob. The knob also causes the recliner here to rotate, and the recliner kind of reminds me of the one Dana sat in from Ghostbusters because it's got all kinds of tentacles and things coming out of it. On the floor, we've got a very yucky looking apple and a rat. The rat is another one of those pieces that is made out of hard plastic in this model. Here we have some more brick-built detail of cloth being ripped off its intended location and dragging on the floor, just like the bed. This is some type of table runner that looks like it's been pulled off to the side. There's a mirror piece here that is actually a reflective piece that's not a sticker. And again, an interesting frame using leaves and these 1x1 modified plates. Here we have a cabinet of some sort. Looks like it's in a kitchen, but it actually hides a secret. If you open it up, there's a ghost on the other side, which if you look from the outside, I guess if you look really close through the green lights here, you could see it. But that's one of the many secrets here. Over here on the other side, the TV is what the recliner, I guess, is supposed to be facing, and it has a light inside with a printed trans clear brick with static on it. The lights are set to cycle through various colors to make the TV look all haunted. It's also got the traditional rabbit ears. And this is also from the inside where the front door is. You've got a printed portrait of some kind or piece of artwork that is intentionally crooked on the wall. And then you have this grandfather clock, which also serves as the secret passageway into where the ladder is to go up to the attic for the creepy ritual going on there. And again, this has the contact plate so that when you take a level off, you don't have to worry about disconnecting any wires to be able to remove levels. The upper level has a piece on the bottom of it, right there, that is designed to go onto that contact plate and turn the lights right back on when it's attached properly. And speaking of the contact plate, I should make a slight correction. When I said there were no stickers in this set, that's not entirely true because this little piece right here is a sticker. When you get the light kit, that little piece there is just kind of by itself. It's not actually attached to the brick. But once you put the brick in place, the instructions have you peel off the back of that piece and stick it into the brick. So technically there is a sticker, but it's not something that's going to affect how the model looks. It's just something for the wiring. Then finally, one more quick look at the back. I forgot about this little doorway. That's another way to see that ghost that was hiding behind the cabinet. And here is where all the wires are stored. The battery box is designed to fit here in this little compartment. And you can use the battery box, or you can plug this USB cable into any other normal power outlet that has a proper adapter. And in here is another part that slides out, but that's just where all the connections for the wires are. And I suppose that would make it easier if you had some other way to get power into the other wires. And if you're not familiar with Lumibricks, they include a lot of pieces that are specially designed to allow wires to pass through them without being pinched. So wires can be much more easily managed. Here's an example of one right next to this light outside the window, where the wire just goes through the designated slot without any problem. And you install the wires as you build the whole kit. So you're not taking things apart after you've built the whole thing to install the lights. One last thing to show is this little side build, which is where the third minifigure is. As this is supposed to be a haunted house that is featuring ghost hunters, we have this not Ghostbusters logo on the side of this vehicle, which if you call a three-wheeled car a vehicle. And it has one of the Lumibricks minifigures on the inside. And the reason he is in there is the instructions tell you to put him in there because these Lumibricks figures, as I'll show here, they don't have any anti-studs on the back of their legs to have them sit down. So there's actually a snot bracket on the inside of the vehicle here where his foot is attached so that he can look like he's sitting and driving the vehicle. But the vehicle does have printed pieces on both sides with what looks like a phone number on it. So if you wonder who you're going to call, you have this phone number you can call. And in case you did wonder, what did the model look like with the yellow and orange leaves on the branches? That's actually how you build the model if you follow the instructions from start to finish. And so I went ahead and took this quick little video to show this is what the model would look like if I had built it with the yellow and orange leaves. Also, if you'd like to get an idea of what this looks like in much lower light with the lights on, here's a quick look to show you how bright the lights are. The lights on the outside definitely seem to be shining much brighter than the lights on the inside, but there's plenty going on here to let you know that this is a spooky house. Thank you for watching my video about the Lumibricks Haunted House. This was a fun build. It was over 2,800 pieces, and for $78 plus tax, it's hard to complain about the value here. It is a little bit slightly different aesthetic if you're used to a certain other brands of bricks and their modular style buildings, but I think this looks great in any type of Halloween display or any type of spooky display. This is going to go on my shelf where I will be able to plug the USB cable into a power outlet, so it will be lighted just like my other Halloween builds that have lights in them. But I still have more Halloween building to do, and I look forward to sharing that with you before Halloween gets here. But until then, remember, today is a good day to build.